I have missed... Interesting. Wow, Atlanta.
America!
Western world. Planet Earth. Not a lot of love for Planet Earth. Interesting. Live from the Eastern in Reynoldstown, Atlanta, it's the Men in Blazers. This Cup's for You World Cup Tour.
Oh, we got Georgia on our minds tonight. Atlanta, you are a beautiful city. Even when it's raining and you're a bit like Leeds. It is such an honor to be with you.
They'd bite your arm off in Leeds for this weather, Rog. This warm, balmy temperature.
It's true. Killer Mike could fucking bite your arm off for fucking Killer Mike. This is the New Jerusalem of American football, and we are here to celebrate the World Cup of Alphas.
Yeah.
No room for footballing Lilliputians in this Gulliver-only tournament. So let's just say it's been a very bad day for the Asian Football Confederation. By the way, the Asian Football Confederation, they don't do snappy acronyms, so they don't even have their own CONCACAF.
No.
And we are going to...
It would be good, though.
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing. But we're going to break it all down with a bevy of guests. And I will say it's a joy. We've been everywhere. From East to this point, it's amazing to be in a proper footballing city with you all here tonight.
Oh, we love some American history, Rog. Here it goes. A city originally founded in 1836 as the final stop of the Western and Atlantic Railroad. At first, they wanted to call it Terminus.
You know, when we do this part of the show, I'm always fascinated. It always feels like we're in that Wayne's World scene where is it Alice Cooper's just like delivering lectures backstage.
Yeah.
But when I think of Terminus, it's not a great name, to be honest. Sounds like a team that Manchester United will have to play knockout rounds of the Europa League next season.
And frankly, they would struggle against Terminus, Rog. But eventually, your forefathers settled on Atlanta, and this incredible town was officially born.
A town of culture, of music, of food, of history, and activism.
Yeah, a town of Gladys Knight.
And the Pips.
Ray Charles, Outkast, TLC.
Hip-hop center of gravity.
Future, Gucci Mane.
2 Chainz.
Yes, the birthplace of Martin Luther King and the cradle of the civil rights movement.
And the cradle of Lemon Pepper Wet.
And Waffle House. Oh, biggest cheer yet.
I know. By the way, as I sit here tonight, I am 87% made of Waffle House products. Scattered, smothered, and covered. The truest taste of American freedom and democracy. Also the best way to describe what our midfield did to England in that group stage game, David.
I'm really okay with where we are right now. To be here in this great city is also to have the truest taste of homegrown American soccer culture.
A region for so long that we're told soccer would not grow here. And a region that's defied all expectation to become this country's greatest showcase of love for the game that we love.
Yeah, a story, Rog, that begins with the late, great Phil Woosnam. Yeah.
So late and so great that he got the same chair as the universe did at this concert. Let's give it again. Phil bloody Woosnam! The Welshman who came to Georgia to coach the Atlanta Chiefs of the fledgling NASL, and he couldn't resist fielding himself. Which, by the way, Greg Berhalter wanted to do.
Yeah. if they
Gio
allow
wouldn't let
bounce
him.
passes on the field of play.
He led the team to the NASL Championship in 1968 before moving over to coach the United States national team. And in all seriousness, this gentleman was a true pioneer of the game here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, the Atlanta soccer tradition continues through Clint Mathis, American Georgie Best.
Oh, Cletus, one of the single most mercurial footballers America has ever produced. He's a gent, let's just say he lived as hard as he played.
Atlanta's got a pair of World Cup winners, Rog.
Great friend of the pod, and the pride of Peachtree City, Kelly O'Hara! And the Waffle House Empress herself, Emily Sonnet.
Also, that backline duo of Georgia Warriors who attempted to take on all comers in Qatar, Shaq Moore and the king of man buns himself, Walker Zimmerman.
And Atlanta United. God bless this team. The culmination of so many years of passion and creativity on the part of footballing loving Atlantans, from Bankhead to Buckhead, a footballing feel-good story for ages, a club that started from scratch, created its own traditions, its own sensibility, and its own bloody success. And it's been magnificent to watch you break records, defy expectations, and transform this city, this region, this nation really, into a delirious testament to the future of football. Up the bloody five stripes.
Delighted to be in Atlanta again. We've got a lot of show, but first, the ritual of rituals at a Men in Blazers show. Please, everybody, on your feet, Atlanta. Hold up your ESPN signs. We got a photograph to take.
We need to know where we are. Hold up those signs, as that great poet warrior Delia Smith would say, "Let's be having you, Atlanta!" Oh my God, that was fucking exhausting.
That was as homoerotic as Mbappe's goal celebration with Olivier Giroud yesterday.
That's why we watch.
Okay, Rog, could you kick us off with a toast?
First of all, I want to raise a glass to my son, Samson.
Where is he?
I don't know, but he surprised me today. I got to my hotel, I'm pretty shattered, we're pretty exhausted, we're married to the World Cup now. And he travelled up from New Orleans for this show and warmed my heart. And I honestly don't know where he is. I don't know where we were yesterday. I don't know. We are so deep into this tournament, we are like Tiffany. We are running just as fast as we can. Davo and I are holding on to one another's hand. And I say, to see my son today as a total surprise, it filled me with the kind of joy I have not felt since Christian Pulisic penised the ball into the goal. Savor this tournament, America, with your friends, with your family. Make great bloody memories. And in that regard, I want to raise my third first bud of the day to the pain many of us are still feeling. Watching the World Cup roll on. How could they without the US men in it? And it's like seeing a beautiful train leave the station and just pull away. And you're like, stop, stop. How can this be? I am cycling through the 7 stages of grief now. I did realize that today as we drove here from, where were we this morning?
Nashville.
Nashville.
Rog. Your name is Roger.
And I'm honestly, what I realized on the bus down here, I am in stage 4. I'm in depression, reflection, and loneliness. And that's why it's great to be with you all here tonight.
Just think how Lallis is feeling.
Lala still thinks we're going to win it.
Yeah, exactly.
And by we, by the way, he means Qatar at this point.
Yeah.
We've lost Lallis, guys. We need to come to terms with this. We've lost Lallis. Lallis is never coming home. I did. By the way, I didn't realise this. Lallis is either going to be lost to like horse riding and falconry in Qatar forever, or Lallis is coming home. They're going to send him home as a sleeper agent. And when he commentates on the 2026 World Cup, I thought about this quite a lot. He's going to be just like banning rainbows in the United States of America. That's who the lull is going to be.
Wow.
Well, whew. I don't know
More on that later.
I don't know. Well, did I just start the Lallis for 2024 presidential campaign by accident?
Yeah. What, he's going to move the presidential election as well? I love it.
I don't know. I have no idea. I just know JP Della Camera is going to be his vice president on the ticket. But I want to raise this beer to something country warbler / Manchester City fan Chase Rice said to us last night in the city that we were in. Austin.
Nashville.
Roger. So Chase Rice, he's a fascinating man. His single is called Drinking Beer, Talking God, Amen, which just like encapsulates pretty well everything that's important to me in my life. And he said on our show last night, I've written here, in Nashville, and he said this is Chase Rice's quote, and I love it. He said, at some point, the US being eliminated from the World Cup has got to matter to the point when it hurts, when it bloody hurts to lose. He said, I think too many people in America, they don't hurt when we lose enough. And he said, like that, like John Mellencamp and Chase Rice can do. Doesn't sound good on but he said, it doesn't hurt enough when we lose. And until that happens, we're never going to win a World Cup. And I'll say it hurts. This year, it really bloody hurts. It hurts so very much. So I'll raise this glass to communing with you, conversing, to processing it together, to love, as Chase Rice made clear. And what he said was one of the most beautiful things I've heard on this tour. We've got a bloody Johnny Cash our way to World Cup glory together, America. Courage.
It's interesting because you don't think that there are many things that Chase Rice and John Oliver would have in common. But they both basically said exactly the same thing, that the US haven't felt enough pain yet to win the World Cup. Maybe this has been enough pain all in one World Cup, and it's coming home in 2026, Rog.
We've all, guys, in a way, don't we all have a pelvic contusion?
Well, you basically just analogized your son to a pelvic contusion, so you definitely have one, Rog, which is wonderful. Okay, to the football. And doctor, I have a terrible case of joga bonito. Brazil 4, South Korea 1. The Seleção celebrate the return of Neymar from injury by samboing their way into the quarterfinals, pumping 4 goals in the first 36 minutes past the South Koreans, who did pull one back via a Korean Wolf Blitzer. But ultimately, it is Brazil who advance.
It's hard to remember. Cast your minds back, dear listeners, before kickoff. It was a nervier world for Brazil. They're in the hunt for that 6th World Cup win. Swirling emotions, Pele's health just hung like the shadow of a dark cloud over the nation. Neymar was back, recovering from that kicking dispensed by Serbia in the opening game. We had no idea how long he could play. The lingering worries of that second-string loss to Cameroon hang over the team. And it was a game in which Gabriel Jesus was not there. He's been lost for 1 to 3 months, and I did enjoy all the "oh, fuck, it's over" texts I got today from every Arsenal-loving friend who has my WhatsApp number. But a lot of waves from the crowd, and I feel for you Arsenal fans. Don't worry, you're Gabriel Martinelli's team now. But expectations in Brazil, it's hard to understand. I mean, Chase Rice would have made a very good Brazilian because expectations are up to 11. Rafinha, Vinicius Jr., Richie, Neymar, Gabriel Martinelli, Anthony Rodrigo off the bench. There's just a sense that razzle-dazzle football that they dream of, that vivacious, expansive, alchemic Brazilian football that dreams are made of is in touching distance. And Davo, they yearn for that right. We've been there. It's in their DNA. Carlos Pereira, their manager, vented in 2006. Why does Brazil have to play beautifully and the others don't? But we've been there. We've been on the beach in Copacabana, which, by the way, they love Barry Manilow so much, they named the fucking beach after one of his songs.
Yeah, I know, I love it. No, it's a nation where everybody thinks that they themselves should be the Brazil manager. And essentially, everyone is talented enough to play in that Brazil football team. We'll show the clip later of Richarlison. But in 2014, when Rog and I were there alarmingly shirtless on the beach of the Copacabana and Ipanema.
Don't worry, I was very modest. I wore a chest wig.
There was sort of an outcry within the Brazilian press that they needed a new striker for that team. And we went down to the beach and we saw maybe 40 to 50 young Brazilian men and women, frankly, playing beach football. And they were better than anyone we'd ever seen play in our lives.
We saw about 12 Brazilian dogs that were on that beach.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, could do a job if they have dual national parents for the United States of America. It's amazing. But it also creates just a crazy next-level crucible of pressure. And they were facing South Korea. And in a World Cup of heavyweights, South Korea, one of the last remaining underdogs still alive, they qualified in the knockouts, let's not forget. Dramatic fashion. Hwang Hee-chan's 91st minute heroic shocked Portugal. A game so physically draining, so emotionally draining. Everyone was asking. Their manager, Paulo Bento, himself is Portuguese, was bemoaning just 72 hours between games. It's insane. How are we meant to recover? He said, I doubt any team could do that. And frankly, his words came to pass because the South Koreans' defense was really a United States against the Netherlands level of gas. There really was. And Brazil scored early and often. 8 minutes in, this happened.
Did not understand a single word that John Strong said during that passage of play. Not a word. I understand the dancing. I did not understand a single word.
I think Derek Ray's been giving him dodgy pronunciations to try and undermine him. Honestly, there's a lot of footballers that do a lot of things. Like Ronaldo, we always joke, scores goals only so that he can take off his shirt and show the world his 8-pack and his nipples. I actually think Vinicius Jr. is the first footballer who only scores goals to show how he could be the world's most elite bar mitzvah party coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, would you not book that guy for your child's party?
I'd booked several of them. They're wonderful.
His electric slide is even better than that finish. And it was stunning. If you didn't see it and you're listening on our podcast, the pullback, Neymar actually whiffed. And Vinicius swooped unmarked with time, unleashed with desperate defenders, diving in like stuntmen in the latest Park Chan-wook movie. I mean, just calmly, lethally arrowed the ball home. And it was a stunning moment of joyous, collective, effervescent wonder. There was almost a release. You could see a national release of pressure in that moment. And it would get worse for Korea. Rattled, overrun, outgunned. Richarlison took the kick in the ankle for the nation. I think if you look at, we're not going to show it, but if you look at the penalty, he actually screamed in Portuguese as he got kicked in the ankle, I was not hit in the penis. It's true. And he drew the penalty. It's what you got to do now. Neymar slapped it home, and then the whole team formed a dance circle, charged around, again with that shared ebullience, their golden shirts burnished by the floodlights in glorious technicolor. And I realized in that moment, in that dance circle, the Brazilian outfield players, and it was all of them, had more fun in 12 seconds than Everton have had in the last decade. And the third goal, Davo, Richarlison, that great Brazilian archetype, the mischief maker, the trickster, the rogue, the con artist. Pombo, they call him. Pombo, Davo, pigeon. Huh. And what bird shit the pigeon conjured, the craft, the zest. What Louis van Gaal would call horny football. Horny football that can only be carved from the dreams of Brazilian football fans. Let's look at this. This is magic.
So they're going to lift that one in from Marquinhos, who stayed upfield. Richarlison. How many juggles is that? Marquinhos. Richarlison.
Oh. I mean, that's a goal I've never seen before. I could only ever have imagined seeing that goal in EA Sports FIFA. It's not a goal that exists in real football life.
I mean, by the way, I just want to be clear, because a lot of you are thinking, is Richarlison dead to me? He's not, because I look at that human being with joy in my heart. 6 months ago, he was an obscure footballer playing for just an obscure team who no one had ever heard about, and now he's dancing with, like, the drunk uncle at the bar mitzvah, with the whole world watching. And if you don't have happiness in your heart for moments like that, I've got to tell you, you're dead inside, and I am borderline dead inside. But the performing seal headers, is that what you're talking about, the 3 headers?
Yeah, but the 3 headers and then just the incision of the move afterwards, like where the pass goes, no one would send that pass back to him. No one would make that run into the area. It was just, it's only in FIFA. That's, you hit the triangle on the, and then that's that thing. It's that one. It's just not a move you see in real football.
I wonder how he thought, 3 headers. How much can I emasculate? Is it 2 headers? No, it's 3 headers. And then I'm going to flick it over him. And then the layoff, the run, the slide pass from Casemiro. And then I'm going to give the goalkeeper the eyes that render him and future generations totally impotent. Cue Dance Dance Revolution. And from that point on, it was rampage, really an agony for the Koreans. The Brazilians ran at the score, could honestly have been 6 or 7-0. Rafinha had said before the game, we have 10 dances prepared for each match. That was America's problem when retrospectively. Yeah. We had 1 dance for the whole tournament. Think loftier, Greg. He said we have 1 dance for the first goal, 1 for the second, 1 for the third. If we score more than 10, then we'll have to start innovating. And John Strong started to stress the F out in the commentating. He was like, what if they run out of dances? And I'd say, we will know when they run out of dances, their choreographed celebrations, when Richarlison and Neymar do the Monica and Ross choreographed number from Friends. That's how we knew that they've got to the end of their repertoire. But maybe that's the number 9 that America are crying out for.
Yeah, could be.
I feel for Korea. I want to be clear. 72 hours is not enough time for an elite team in an elite tournament, a valiant team, to recover. And I did admire how they kept coming, even in the face of humiliation. Lost in the story of this game is that Alisson, in the second half, made 2 or 3 unbelievable saves. Are you cheering saves or are you cheering Alisson?
Alisson.
Oh, I like saves too. But when they did score past Alisson, it was a long-range rifle shot from Park Chung-ho. And what I loved was that the game was lost. The goal was in total garbage time. But the Korean fans celebrated it when they cut to them in the stands as if it was a winning goal. And I love that, Davo. It's a reminder, savor everything you can in life. You don't know when you're going to experience that kind of wonder again, and you've just got to dance as if you're at your own kid's wedding, and that is, God bless Korea.
And also, for those Korean fans, they've traveled quite a long way. They're living in a tent in the middle of the desert with no running water. I mean, good for them that they managed to see a goal. I'm delighted for them.
You think that wasn't them clapping? That was just them living out the last stages of dehydration.
Pretty much. It wasn't face paint either. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, the reality was, for much of the game, this was the dominant mood of the Korean fans. We've all been there. We all have. I mean, I hate that feeling when you've gone to all that bloody effort for this, and you just want to blend into the scenery and not be associated with the carnage on the field. You just want to slip away. But you can't spell face paint without pain. I look at that photo, I'm like, I can imagine him in Korean karaoke just being like, regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few. It's the 8th straight quarterfinal for Brazil, and we wondered ahead of this tournament, Dave, how good Brazil would be. We had Kaká come on our podcast the week before the tournament because they had been dominant in qualifying, but they just played CONMEBOL teams. There was no European. I think the last big team they played was 2019 March. They played the Czech Republic, and they hadn't really matched up against the world's best. There was a concern, a nagging doubt, how good are we, Davo? And I think this performance, this psychic release, the dances, the wonder, the goals, the Allison saves, was them feeling this is us. We can do this.
And also, Rog, they lost their final game against Cameroon because they rotated pretty much their entire team. That is the value of this amount of depth in a tournament when you get to rotate so you're this strong, something unfortunately that the US couldn't do. They sort of exhausted that midfield, playing them every single minute almost of every single game, and the rotation, the strength and depth of that Brazil squad. You and I got on the text with each other when they announced the Brazil squad, and we were like, oh my word, like name after name after name that you're like, these people are incredible. And that is their strength. Their depth is probably better than anybody in the tournament.
And the joy, it's not just depth. 4 different goal scorers in this game. Neymar playing, seemingly free of pain, a true joy, a true relief for them. And this game, they didn't look like an international team. Their connection, their chemistry, they didn't just look like a club team. They looked like an elite club team, which I think is the highest compliment that can be paid to a team in the World Cup.
Yeah, and they look like an elite club team, still playing with the joy of those kids we saw playing on the beaches in Copacabana and Ipanema. Like, they just play football with a level of joy. You know, dancing and football are almost exactly the same thing. Where does the football end and the dancing starts, and vice versa? It doesn't, everything's so connected.
More dancing in life, Atlanta, to more dancing.
Okay, Rog, now to teams who play in pajamas. Croatia defeat Japan on penalty kicks. Japan...
Can I just say, those are the most menacing fucking pajamas I've ever seen in my life, buddy.
Yeah, Japan took a 43rd minute 1-0 lead over last tournament's defending champions. But just 10 minutes into the second half, Croatia, in their pajamas, found a way through a brilliant Ivan Perisic header from distance from a teasing Dejan Lovren ball. That's right, Rog, a teasing Dejan Lovren ball. That game eventually went to penalties where Croatian keeper Dominik Livakovic saved 3 of them to send Croatia back to the quarterfinals and Japan back to Japan.
Would you rather go to the quarterfinals, lads, or to Japan? By the way, I'd bite your arm off to go to Japan, just to be candid. But 4 years after reaching the World Cup final, the Croatian story, it's an incredible story. It's a tiny nation. Their resilient spirit. There was an article, I think, in The Guardian today about one of their coaches who's a legend in water polo, who says it's not really the most skilled team that wins. It's the team who has the mentality, just that human mentality of just willing to hurt more than their opponent that will win. That's what makes you a legend. It's just genuinely a fascinating, it's the opposite of how I approach life, to be candid. But I read it and you watch their football with wonder. And Jesse Marsh said to me, this is what's amazing. He said before this game, he said that this is a World Cup of youth. The games are so compressed. There's not enough time for recovery. this is a young men's game in terms of heat maps, distances run, recovery, and Croatia are always the exception to the rule. Modric, 37. Perisic, Lovren, both 33, although I think Lovren's lying. And they faced Japan, surprise group toppers. They clipped Spain, they clipped Germany. They played courageous football. They pressed, they smothered, they smited with a mentality that was summed up beautifully by their veteran defensive leader, Yuto Nagatomo, who said before the game, we used the analogy of the samurai. Before they went into battle, they polished their weapons. They improved their technique. But if they're scared in battle, they won't be able to use their weapons or their technique. And it's the same in football. We, today, would like to showcase how courageously we fight. And that's the attitude they took to the bloody field. And from the off, it's amazing. They were amazing. They showed no fear. They had been in this stage 3 times before, and each time they had just crapped the bed in more and more traumatic, painful ways. Last time, do you remember 2018, they'd led Belgium 2-0 until Nasser Chadli completed a horrific comeback from a Japanese perspective, a 94th minute winner. That's the history they brought to the field. And they opened up with a searing high press. They flickered menacingly on counter. Possession, grab, chances created. It was jaw-dropping, the intensity, the tenacity. They wore Croatia down. They chased lost causes. And in the 43rd minute, their audacious collective team play got its reward. A well-worked short corner. And this happened.
Wow. American fans, that's called a practiced routine from a set piece. You go to the training ground, you work on something, and then you try it in a game.
It's so... I watched that goal, by the way. I thought 2 things. Number one, if the Japanese had just danced a little bit more, might they have gone on to win this game? Yeah. We'll never know. That's tactics, so I'll leave that out of this conversation. It's not why you come here. But it was a short corner, and what it did, it changed the angle of attack, created a vulnerability at the heart of the Croatian defense. And it was a different option than simply hitting a flat corner at the forehead of the biggest defender on the opposing team on repeat. I'm just saying, every bloody corner in a World Cup is a gift not to be wasted. And the beneficiary here was Maeda of Celtic, who slapped home the first time Japan have scored in the first half in this World Cup. And what was fascinating, they really reversed their strategy in this game for this tournament. They held on in every other game and then just ratcheted up their intensity late. Here they really came out in that first 45. And I did start to think, can they keep this up for 90 minutes? Or would they slow? Would they create more time, more opportunity, more space for the experience and vision to kick in? David, because the Croatians, if nothing, they're battle-hardened.
Wow.
Their experience, right?
And they have football minds that blow you away. I was struck by, in one-on-one battles in those first 45 minutes, the Japanese players, one-on-one, were meters per second faster than their Croatian counterparts. They could beat them one-on-one at any point, but the Croatians then start mind-melding with each other and figuring out a way in their pajamas to play a version of football that stops them ever getting into a single one-on-one situation against any of those Japanese players. And they countered completely the Japanese speed.
I think the pajamas is an important tactical point, by the way.
Yeah,
I do.
agreed.
Because what does pajamas say? It says, you know, when you answer the door, you've all done it for like the delivery guy, and you're like, fuck it, I'm in my pajamas. What it says is, I just rolled out of bed, and I don't care if you know it. And what the Croatians are saying, we fear you this much, so we've all just rolled out of bed 5 minutes ago again. We still think we're going to crush you.
Modric hasn't even done his hair.
I know. Yeah. It's been about 25 years since he cast his first spell as the village witch. But these are things that we need to learn as a football nation. Number one, more dances after our goal per tournament. Number two, pajamas. And This team, Croatia, 5 of the last 7 knockout games have gone into overtime. This is who they are. They wait, they pass, they know, they do not fear. They have complete and utter calm where other teams would crumble. They knew an opportunity would emerge. They knew their quality would show. And in the 55th minute, this happened.
Wow.
How? How, Davo? How?
I mean, a header from a distance that you do not see a header attempted or made. It was actually a curling header that started outside of the post and curled back in at speed and made it into the side netting.
If you gave Steph Curry the ball there, he'd be like, I'm not shooting this.
Yeah.
It's too far. It's too far. It's too far. But somehow, Perisic somehow used the power of the cross, just added that chef's kiss of redirection, and the goalkeeper, Gonda, if you look at the footage, was actually doing a mid-little bunny hop, and he could never recover. Perisic brilliantly drifted it away from him, and I saw that. I was like, experience, belief, smiting ambition and audacity. And you got to credit Japan. They responded with a fearlessness. Endo propelled his team forward, thundered the ball on net, signaled to his teammates to Tom Petty it and won't back down. It's very big in Japan. And the game erupted fleetingly. Modric smashed a drive goal band, hand to hand, fist to fist. It was glorious. Huge credit, can we say, to the Japanese fans who sang the same monotonous, crappy song for the entire 120 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
Respect. And the game became a stalemate, really bogged down into extra time. And there's a moment in any game like that where both teams kind of realize that rather than seizing initiative and take risks and try and win, they almost fatigue and fear mean they all realize there's too much to lose, right?
We've seen this in a few major tournaments in a row, that extra time doesn't really work anymore. Both teams play so conservatively, not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to lose it. Everybody's exhausted. They're playing in some considerable heat. You know, the air conditioning isn't working in the clouds, weirdly, in Qatar. It's not keeping the temperatures down.
I'm surprised about that, to be
candid.
candid.
So it's hot, and so both teams are exhausted. They didn't have a lot to bring in extra time.
And my second son, Bear, he had a tyre blowout, so I texted him today. I said, are you okay, sweetheart? He said, no, I'm in agony. I said, why are you in agony? He said, because I've had to listen to JP Della Camera for 120 minutes. And that's actually a true story. I've never been prouder of him, but I was so tired. That cheered me up so much. It was unbelievable. Next generation. And it was just a tension in the game, a stress in the game, a craziness in the game, which far outweighed anything like the quality of football. You were watching tired men, cramping legs, shattered minds, and it was clearly going to penalties, right? Like 25 minutes before it went to penalties. And I tweeted that you could tell from the intricacy of their set pieces that the Japanese have been practicing the F out of their penalties. But I also said there's just no practicing the crucible of pressure. If you speak to any coach, a lot of coaches try and practice penalties in training, but they all say it's honestly useless, because until you do it in that game condition, in that context, there's nothing like it. The fear, the paralyzing, just chaos that grips the mind of these elite athletes. And David, we've always said, I mean, the true greats, Baggio, Zico, Frank Lampard, they've all missed penalties in penalty shootouts. It's such a cruel decider, turning a collective game into an individual sport that's only loosely connected to everything that came before it. It's honestly closer to Russian roulette than it is to elite football, right?
Oh, don't give FIFA any ideas. There's probably a white paper being worked out right now, and Arsene Wenger thinking, Russian roulette, this is a good idea. I don't know. Look, for years I've opposed penalty shootouts in major tournaments. I loathe it. I just don't think it's a sufficient way to end a game of this magnitude. And yet, I don't know I don't know any other idea. I heard on the radio in Britain posited the other day the idea that it should be shots on goal, the team that has the most shots on goal. But then I realized that early on in games, teams will just be hoofing the ball up from defense, just trying to get a shot on goal, rolling it at any opportunity towards the keeper to have it count as a stat. There's no other way.
I think
but
Brazil have
penalty
shown us the
shootout.
way. Dance-off. Group
Dance-off.
dance-offs are being...
Good point.
Can I say, group dance-offs are as connected to football as the penalty shootout. And we also have to remember, Croatia, World Cup 2018, they clipped Denmark, they clipped Russia on penalties. They're players. They've been there, they've done that, they've stared into the abyss, and they've survived to tell the tale. And the Japanese had not, and their penalties showed it. Croatian goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic, Dinamo Zagreb's finest, he made 3 saves. And let's be candid, 2 of them were pretty routine, and a lot of internet warriors were laughing at these paltry misfires in this moment. It was honestly, some of them were like watching a baby urinate.
Something...
I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. And yet...
I have 4 children, but what we were watching, honestly, was humanity spent. The Japanese penalties were simply elite footballers shattered, collapsing mentally with the world watching, just sucking their skills, their ability. And it was honestly hard to watch, David.
It was like overthinking. Every penalty seemed overthought. And the last thing they remembered to do was actually hit the bloody ball.
They were so brave. They were so audacious until they weren't, and so it came to pass. 2022, the World Cup of Heavyweights, in which outsider joy is as loud as rainbows. And you've said this, Japan, fearless until they crumbled, and it was cruel, honestly, to watch them falter. Croatian experience to kick in. Croatia, Brazil is going to be fascinating to watch Friday. We'll break it down live in Los Angeles. If you're listening on the podcast and you're in California, we've got Austin Eckler, we've got Will Arnett among our guests. It's going to be a clash of experience and a bullions. But David, this is the World Cup of heavyweights at this point, right?
Yeah, Argentina, Holland, France, England, Brazil, Croatia, all qualified for the quarterfinals. You know, tough to bet against Spain or Portugal playing tomorrow. That's 8 of the top 12 in the world. You know, Germany, Belgium, Denmark failed to qualify. Italy didn't even make the tournament. But you've got the biggest teams in the tournament are left in now in the quarterfinals. The round of 16 has eliminated everyone else. And these are the alphas. These are the teams with the pressure at home, where I don't think for a single one of these countries, the quarterfinals aren't enough. There is not a single nation here thinking, okay, we've done it, job done, we've made the quarterfinals. There is going to be potentially managers fired from these teams who do not make it into the semifinals. These are the alphas. This is what we sign up for the World Cup for. This is going to be fascinating. I can't wait.
All of them battling to be the team that faces Qatar in the final.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Mr. Q, coached by Alexi Lalas. I love it, Rog. Yeah.
By the way,
He could become the Qatar national coach. I can't believe I haven't thought of that until now. That's what he's saying. They give him a professional falconry franchise,
number 1.
a brace of Arabian horses,
Yeah.
a palace, a bunch of monkeys and snakes and other things, and he gets to be the coach of the Qatar national team. He is never coming home.
It's not coming home. By the way, have you noticed his English is faltering while he's been out there? Slowly, it's an amazing transformation that we won't talk about again in a minute. But I want to
hope
say...
he doesn't come home because he's going to kill us if he does.
The only reason he's not going to kill us, he won't know whether to kill us with the film he made about the swords in Qatar or with the falcons in Qatar.
Yeah.
There's so many ways for us to kill him. He's paralyzed. But I have loved watching Japan in this tournament. I want to say that. I really, really have. Can we hear it for Japan?
Yeah.
They have been courageous. More than anything, they've been bloody fun. They've made incredible memories. Their team play football the right way, with audacity, with collective wonder, and then they clean up after themselves after the game and leave the world a better place for them having been in it.
Yeah.
I say, this is their last image. I'm going to play it for you. It's heartbreaking. Let's have a look at it. This is their players.
3 or 4 years ago versus Denmark, this is a pain for Japanese faces. Ricardo from Portugal did it versus England.
Oh my! By the way, Fox, why did you have to go to slow-mo for that? I don't even know. And secondly, I didn't understand the Prince lyric. This is what it sounds like when doves cry until I watched that. To Japan, Davo, and to Asian Confederation for making this a better World Cup.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, 2 more games in the round of 16 tomorrow, Rog. And ahead of them, one of the key players, not sure you've heard of him, maybe staying in the Middle East, whether his team wins or loses. And not just because his teammates seem to be at agree on one thing, that they really don't like him very much. We're talking, of course, about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes, Davo, ahead of tomorrow's game, one more minnow lives on. Can we just say Morocco, Godspeed, you beautiful country.
Yes.
I've had some magic nights in Fez, Essaouira, Casablanca, and I faced Spain. And we'll talk about that some more in a moment. I actually met Lou Reed in Casablanca. It was one of the craziest nights of my life. But I'll talk about that on my other podcast today in leather pants. Wearing Americans. Portugal, it's true. It's so crazy.
Okay.
It was like 110 degrees and Lou Reed was wearing leather pants. It was like America. We'll talk about that some more in a moment. Portugal face Switzerland. And news out of the Portuguese camp, Fernando Santos reported to be deeply pissed off with Cristiano Ronaldo's behavior when he was substituted against South Korea, refused to leave the field, mouthed off at everyone. And Santos is not able to guarantee that Portugal will be captained by Cristiano Ronaldo against Switzerland tomorrow. Ronaldo seems to be on a one-man crusade to find out if it's possible to be sacked both by your club and your national team. But the news coming out of the day, Davo, it seems likely Saudi club Al Nassr. Anyone an Al Nassr fan here tonight? Yeah. God. I told you, Atlanta's a proper football city. This is amazing. Al Nassr sounds like, I think you think it's a person. Alvin Nassr. No, it's a team. Al Nassr. And they are going to get their man. And they're going to get him cheaply for a reported $210 million a year.
Wow, pocket change.
It's been a dream of his to play for Al Nassr since he was a child, he said.
Yeah.
So the money doesn't mean anything to me. GFOP at Matt Haas said Ronaldo's new salary will rank at number 200 on the countries by GDP list, just between the Marshall Islands and Kiribati. Davo, what do you make of it?
I mean, he deserves more than Kiribati, let's face it. I mean, yeah, if he wants to go and end his career, what an undignified way to end your career as one of the greatest footballers in the world. Honestly, his exit from Man United, his behaviour at the end there, his behaviour during this World Cup, claiming a goal came off his head when the technology, not that they have that in Portugal, told him that it didn't go anywhere near his beautifully coiffed hair. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I find it disgusting and disappointing. And other words.
I will say, it does make sense, because the Saudis are essentially they're buying for social media impressions. Dude is less a footballer at this point, but with 508 million Instagram followers, he is the world's single greatest global megaphone for whatever he's attached to, and to legitimize Saudi Arabia's footballing bona fides with his every single post with an eye to hosting the 2030 World Cup. I think probably for $210 million a year, I would imagine it probably works out It's probably actually quite a bargain. But in other transfer news, Fabrizio Romano today posted Weston McKennie will probably leave Juventus. That's Italian for dumpster fire. Imminently, Tottenham said to be interested as early as January. Sometimes I do bite my tongue on stage and I don't say, that's English for dumpster fire. I just pull it back. I'm growing up, maturing. Christian Pulisic, have you heard of him? Is on the list of, this is Fabrizio's words, many notable clubs, including Newcastle United and Manchester United. Chelsea won $45 million, and I believe it would have been more if he still had 2 functioning testicles. But what it would do, but a fresh start looms for your boy, David.
Yeah. Yeah, Todd Burley's going to take the money. By the way, I think Todd Burley might have done the Ronaldo deal had he got Graham Potter to agree to it. But yeah, it's amazing. I think that the contract situation for Christian means that this is probably in this window. He's probably going to go. A team is going to have to come in and buy him, not a loan deal. A lot of the teams that we've seen associated with him wanted a loan deal. Chelsea are never going to let him out on loan with only a year and a half to go until the end of his contract. But I think you will see a Newcastle United or a Manchester United. These are 2 teams wealthy enough to pay his wages. And he's not going to take a cut in wages. Not now he needs another testicle.
Sing with me. One ball, you've only got one ball. It's better. It's better than a Manchester accent. Go on, Davo. Let's get to the big news of the day.
Yeah, here's the big news, Rog. The big piece of football news that has social media abuzz, certainly here in America today. A piece from the Guardian newspaper writer Aaron Timms that just excoriates Fox's coverage of this World Cup. The title of the article, Fox Sports' US World Cup coverage is an unmissable abomination. And there is only one word I disagree with in that headline, and that is unmissable.
This article, if you've not read it, is a brutal takedown of the coverage of the World Cup in the English language in the United States. It's essentially football's equivalent of that Pete Wells New York Times review of Guy Fieri's Times Square restaurant, Guy's American Kitchen and Bar Review. And I want to say, I know Broj listens to this podcast and that he loves Times Square and is probably not happy with the reviews of either of these 2 places. But, David, in case our listeners have not heard or read the article, tell us some of the quotes.
Yeah, a few quotes stood out for me. Nuance, political context, a sense of proportion about a sporting project built on exploitation and influence peddling, all have been lost amid Fox's non-stop on-air bonfire of jingoism and untroubled uplift. End quote. The article then proceeded to target individual members of the broadcast, Roger, including you-know-who, Alexi Lalas, saying, quote, from his post at the end of the panel, the big man, Lalas, in the MAGA light suit, has delivered his signature rants with all the enthusiasm of someone who's blown past the discomfort of knowing that no one else on set finds him interesting or funny.
Davo, you are a TV man to your bones.
Yeah.
When you read this article, what did you make of it? Because I know you have thoughts.
Look, I think that covering the World Cup, like covering the Olympics, or in this country, covering the NFL, is a public trust. It's a public trust. You are delivering a public service for a really unique world event. These companies spend fortunes to get the rights. They compete against every other broadcaster to get it. Disclosure, I used to work at ABC and ESPN. Rog and I, met working for ABC and ESPN, and we covered World Cups for them. But at ESPN, the feeling was about the World Cup is that we are telling a global story, and it's a football story where we have a duty to educate and inform the audience and the entire audience about a World Cup featuring countries from all over the world and amazing footballers and amazing teams from all over the world. And let's look back to 2014, Roger, when we were there in Brazil. The group of former players and former managers and broadcasting brains who were part of that operation.
Ruud van Nistelrooy, Gilberto Silva, Michael Ballack, us.
Yeah, yes. But every country, so whoever was playing, there was an expert who could come on television and explain what are the national characteristics, what's going on the press back home, what is going on with this team, what's going on with their mentality. And by the way, Alexi, Rob Stone, JP, a lot of these guys were part of that broadcast, and they were an important part of that broadcast. But what Fox have now done is they've taken a part of the broadcast, turned it inside out, and made it the whole of the broadcast, and there's no other parts. There's no one to speak about Japanese soccer. There's no one to speak about French soccer. There's no one to speak about the Dutch. There's no one to speak about anything else. It is just a relentless group of bit players, for me, from a broadcasting point of view, given this phenomenal opportunity, given this enormous stage to go and speak. And to some extent, when the US was still in, I still didn't like it, but it was fantastic because it was jingoistic and it was rally, 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 and it was the US all the time. But now we've got the World Cup of Alphas. We've got these 6 teams already qualified for the quarterfinals. We've got 2 more to come tomorrow. Who's going to talk about that? I'm watching Telemundo.
I want to be clear, bite your arm off to be a bit player, but I will say as a football fan, it does piss me off, because it is a moment when football really is poised to grab the widest possible audience in the United States of America, and we need to advantage that new audience into the backstories, the narrative, the tactical understanding, the true nuance of the game, the global wonder of football. And instead, this roster, as David said, was really jerry-rigged to tell the US story big time. And they've got 2 non-US analysts, I think. Kelly Smith, who's excellent, Eni Aluko, who's amazing. But, you know, there's no Mexican broadcaster, there's no Brazilian emphasis, there's no French rep. That full texture of the game is a massive missed opportunity. In 2006, I started doing this football thing because I watched, it was ESPN, they were then doing it also on the cheap, and they had a commentator that said, when England came on the field, there was an English commentator that said, an American guy who said, the world's most famous footballer, Charlie Beckham, takes the field. And I was watching, I was like, holy crap, I wrote a piece actually for the New Republic almost immediately. Well, I was like, how great would the love of this game be if we had broadcasting that engaged and advantaged and drew in and mesmerized? And honestly, it's when I realized I really wanted to dedicate my life to doing this in my little tiny crappy way. And that was 2006, and it pains me that 2022, it still feels relevant. But I do want to say this, and you've got to indulge me for 1 second, because there's something much darker at play than just like the football dimension of this stuff. And the biggest challenge of this coverage, as a human being, not as a football fan, is that the decision to not mention anything about the geopolitics of this world global event means that they don't even mention anything that's vaguely political. When the Italian guy ran on the field with the rainbow flag, and we had the world feed, so they had to show it, and John Strong just shut up for 50 seconds because he didn't know what to say. Or when Tyler Adams in that press conference, which made all of us so bloody proud, right?
Agreed.
It was an astonishing moment. The Iranian state media came to F up America, and we had a 23-year-old captain who was able to, with intelligence and humility, just repel, parry, and overcome. And we all saw it. We're not stupid. We bloody see it on social media. And then they cut to Fox, and their broadcast was, the big news out of the press conference is this American team are ready to go against Iran tomorrow, and they're really buzzed. And we laugh about it, but by having a broadcast that's so divorced from fact and truth, where reality is just airbrushed out. When honestly, reality is strangled and contorted and perverted here in the United States of America. We are all left fumbling around in ignorance and darkness. And there's so much in this moment that we need to know. There's so much that we need to be aware of. We need to open our eyes. So bloody much in this world right now. And we're being sold a soft shoe shuffle. And the wonder of Qatar, David, when we look back on this 2022 World Cup, we won't think of Messi's goal. We won't think of Christian Pulisic putting his penis on the line for our nation.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we'll all remember, and I guarantee all of us are different in this room. We all have different beliefs, different understandings, different sense of right and wrong. We're all united by football. And thanks to Fox, the one thing we'll remember will be Alexi and Stu Holden's deep dive into Qatar's love affair with Falcons.
It's the national art of Qatar, a symbol of strength, freedom, and pride. Today, falconry is an art form that links man's nature, past and present, and reality back to myth. Where are the falcons from?
We have falcons from the United States.
Okay, Washington. This shows how it works. Our friends agreed to give us a demonstration, along with a guarantee that the prey would not be injured in any way. It was a masterclass of speed, agility, and grace. And we gladly accepted the chance to have thousands of years of history majestically perched right on our arm.
Oh my God. All that great work that Springsteen has been investing for years into advancing America's big bandana industry. And Alexi Lalas goes and undoes it just in the course of one video.
It's like Top Gun with falcons.
In a way, aren't we all that prey? I mean, I do love how sensitive Fox was to make it very clear to us in the filming of this important, possible Oscar-winning documentary that no prey was harmed in the making of it. By the way, the prey looked pretty fucking harmed to me. I want
And let's think about what happened to the prey the second they left, took the cameras out of there.
I know, but like, we didn't hear about the 6,500 migrant workers who were reported to have lost their lives building the stadia. And I will say, football is a joy. That's what bonds us all in this room tonight. Football is a wonder. But football is also a reflection of this world. And we need to be aware of everything that goes on in this world. And as football fans, honestly, really as Americans, we need to try and make sense of this fast-changing world. This world is filled with challenge. And to choose to forget that is really to aid Qatar in its public relations efforts to hoodwink the world in this moment. I just say, this broadcast is like watching a My Pillow infomercial with falcons. And it puts us at risk as a nation. We need to be aware of the shifting geopolitical challenges. It's not just bad television. I want to be clear, this is downright bloody dangerous. And as I say this, I think there's a man at the top there who's taking his shirt off, which is a very nice reminder that I feel the need not for speed, but to be lifted back up and to have the taste of the sweat of the Lalas bandana cleansed from our collective lips, which is to say, Davo, can we bring on a guest?
Absolutely, Roger. Well, this is wonderful. Joining us now is quite literally the most powerful man in Atlanta.
Brad Guzan is here.
No, Rog. Even more powerful than that mad bastard. Cast your mind back to one of the greatest political stories in recent memory. A boy from Adamsville who met the legendary mayor of Atlanta, Andrew Young, in a grocery store when he was just 12 years old and started dreaming of following in his footsteps. Almost exactly 1 year ago, this young boy, now grown up, achieved those dreams. He is an incredible gent, the best Andre since Andre 3000, the best Dickens since Charles. We're so honored to have him with us here tonight. It's Mayor Andre Dickens.
Yeah, go Jackets. Go United, I see it.
Andre bloody Dickens, it is a joy and an honour to be with you tonight. That you would sully yourself in our company, David.
Yeah, I love it.
You are from the west side, Adamsville, best Adams since Tyler, along with our friend Killer Mike, and you've lived in Atlanta your whole life. This is an incredible city.
Yeah.
The history, the culture, the music, the food. It's changed so much in the last 30 years, and I'm curious, what's it like growing up here, and how has it changed since you were a kid?
Yeah, first of all, it's the best place on earth to live, if you ask me. The ATL.
We wanted an objective human being to come and answer this question.
Tell us from an objective point of view, what makes Atlanta one of the top cities in America
You
to live
know,
in?
it just kind of is that way. I've lived in LA, I lived in Houston, lived in Evansville, Indiana, but Atlanta is special, and it has changed, and it's grown over the years. There's so many new people that have moved to this city that have found us attractive, have found a great job here, came to college here, like Georgia Tech or Georgia State, Emory, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, all of the above. We have great food, great weather. Besides today, when you Brits got here and brought us the rain.
It's like Qatar. It's like Qatar. We bring our own weather.
This is UK weather.
No, we said this would be a beautiful summer's day in Leeds. Right there.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing is I was born after the Civil Rights Movement, so I've been a beneficiary of this inclusive culture, this access, this opportunity, this diversity, and all of us are beneficiaries of the legendary Dr. King, the home of the Civil Rights Movement.
Wow, I come back here like once every 3 years, and every time I come here, it feels that the city is 20% bigger.
Yeah.
It's taller, it's higher, there's so much. My girlfriend, as we're driving in, she was like going through just reading 5-star review after 5-star review, James Beard award-winning restaurants, like all of this incredible stuff. There is so much iconic Atlanta food. I want to ask you about that. Fried chicken at the Busy Bee, lemon wet, rest in peace. Hot dogs at the Varsity, comfy chicken biscuits at Homegrown, Waffle House. Waffle House gets a lot of love. In your official capacity as mayor, what in your mind is the ultimate Atlanta meal?
By the way,
maybe just for you. Maybe just because we know that you're in public office.
This is
maybe
a massive
just for
vote winner
you.
or a massive vote loser, this question.
Maybe just for you. What is your, when you come back from being away, what is it that you crave? What is it you want to eat?
I've seen people get fired for less, man. This answer better be good. Man, this is a tough one. All right, so
answer it from your heart.
So every night after drinking, you end with Waffle House.
Okay.
So it's not that it's like fine cuisine or anything like that.
Oh,
but it's nostalgic.
You haven't been to England.
You got to get an all-star.
Wow, it's amazing.
With hash browns and bacon and a big waffle. You got to get that. But earlier in the day, you got to get, a 10-piece lemon pepper wet wings. And
from where? Put you on the spot with my hard-hitting questions.
I'm a classic guy, man. I like J.R. Cricket's, Atlanta classics. You got to go there. And you start your morning with breakfast at either Homegrown or Busy Bee or something like that. Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I still got my job. Didn't nobody fire me.
I can say the Atlanta mentality has always fascinated me. I love being in this city, and I come here as often as I can. It thrills me. The energy of this place, the joy of this place, just the vivacious imagination of this city in sports, in music, in politics. honestly feels like the city's always had an underdog mentality of a place counted out before it even had the chance to truly prove itself. You know, we all love that moment when Andre 3000 shouted, "The South
got something to say."
At the Source Awards in '95, while being booed off stage by all the East and West Coast arseholes embroiled in their own coastal beef.
All of them moved here now. There they are. I see them. Your ass and your ass. I see y'all.
That's so great. I wonder, how has that mentality shaped the culture of the city?
Yeah, I mean, like, I knew Andre 3000 before he was who he is. I knew him from middle school. And, like, this cat and this crew, the Goody Mob and all of them went to high school with me. So, I mean, like, I saw these guys basically say, I see, you know, East Coast music, I see West Coast music, I see, you know, Miami-based music with Luke and all that stuff. And it was like, the South got something to say, is basically, you know, in our hearts. Like we've created a vibe, we actually want to push it out there, and then you get up there to the Source Awards and they kind of like, how did y'all win? Because they had the album of album of the year, and people were like, how did y'all win? And we're like, it's dope music. It's really good. And he felt it in his heart, and he said what he said, and now they're the best-selling rap duo in the history of rap.
Wow.
Coming from right here. And so for us, a lot of us always, you know, we don't necessarily have a chip on our shoulder because we're very inviting. Atlanta is an extremely welcoming city, and that's our inclusivity. That's our aim, to draw a circle instead of drawing lines. We look to include people, but when you throw some anger at us, you throw some, you know, you try to diss us, you don't, you know, as Goody Mob says, you don't wipe your foot on the rug when you come into our home, then we're going to take offense to that, and we're going to say what we got to say and deal with it how we deal with it.
Wow. To your point, it is worth mentioning Money Magazine voted Atlanta the best place to live in the US in 2022. I love Money Magazine.
Yeah,
You're not really an underdog anymore. You're one of the fastest growing large cities in America. How would you describe, what words do you use to describe Atlanta in this moment?
Yeah, Atlanta is, I mean, what'd you say? Hooty-hoo! Atlanta is dope. Atlanta is dope. Atlanta influences everything. And Atlanta includes everybody. And so what we're talking about is a city that has several histories from our time of, you know, Sherman tanks tearing up the city to where we resurged out of that, like a phoenix coming out of the flame, to now where we are really dealing with expansive growth. Yeah, that too, brother. I got you, man. Let me do my job for a minute.
I think that, by the way, that's the mayor of Nashville's here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Yeah, y'all, yeah. Okay, got you. I'm with you. But Atlanta is definitely sometimes a victim of our own success, though, because we're growing so fast. We, you know, as you stated, Money Magazine named us the best place in the United States to live, and for me, that means we're the best place in the whole galaxy to live.
Yeah.
And so it's a place that things are happening, but we have to manage this growth because people are getting priced out because it's becoming more and more expensive. Yeah. And so we want to make sure that this is a place that people can live, work, and play of all different backgrounds.
A part of the story of Atlanta in this moment that is honestly near and dear to all of our hearts, I think, here tonight, is the continued delirious success of Atlanta United.
Yeah! The five strikes, baby!
Really, truly one of the greatest success stories in American sports over the past decade. It's a city where they said soccer could never thrive.
Yeah.
A city derided by the press. I didn't say this is not me. I love you guys. I've got to tell you, hearing the mayor describe you, I'm like, God, this is like the Liverpool of America. I mean that in a lovely way. I mean that in a lovely way. I really, really do.
Liverpool.
This is an amazing moment. This is an amazing moment. I love you. A mayor being heckled with Liverpool chants. Football has finally made it in America. But This was an SEC territory. This is a coastal sport trying to make it in the deep south. And you just started in the Atlanta City Council when Atlanta United was announced. What did you think about the project back then? Like, what did you really think was possible?
Atlanta United is a magical story. I mean, when people, when I was growing up, we had a soccer team for a little while, and it didn't last. And so coming back to it, Arthur Blank is owed an immense amount of credit for what he did and is doing. And the city and all the people that invested into it, you guys, the booster clubs and everybody, to be able to say, we want this to happen, we willed it to happen, we worked it. And I believe that the tremendous investment in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to have that great facility, the perfect pitch to be able to do football and world football, to do soccer as well as American football, to be able to do that in one stadium and it's world class no matter what event you're going to, no matter what experience, every experience is awesome. And in a town that had only had one championship in modern history, and that was the Atlanta Braves 1995 World Series win. And so you think about all the tears that I cried over the Falcons, over the Hawks, over the Braves, and then for them to say we're gonna have Atlanta United, and then in year 2, what did we do? We won it all. MLS Soccer winners in 2018. I was there for just about all the games, especially the last ones during the playoffs. And I can tell you, as somebody who's gone to, hundreds of sporting events, including we don't mention often that Super Bowl that we lost. The best experience I ever had was when Atlanta United won that night. That was electric.
So 8 years after their founding, Atlanta United, you mentioned the stadium, now holds 9 out of the top 10 attendance records in Major League Soccer history.
Yeah.
We know you're a fan. What do you think it is about the team that has spoken to this city in the way that it has?
Yeah, so we get into those arenas and we turn up. We go ham. We go crazy. Those are Southern words for we are excited.
I thought it was Cockney rhyming slang for a moment. Ham rhymes.
We go
with
ham.
what,
We go.
rhymes with what. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, we turn up, and the way it started was perfect for us because it started at Georgia Tech because the Mercedes-Benz Stadium was being built. And that's my alma mater, and there's a bunch of us in here that went to Georgia Tech. And so the first games were at a college stadium that we could fill up, and you still had that college energy and excitement, so we worked out our chants. We got our tone and tenor and cadence down, and then when the Benzo opened up and we went into the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, it was on, and we broke all the records, and that's how we do it in Atlanta for Atlanta United.
Can I just say, I love Georgia Tech, I really do.
No, Dennis Scott.
Your football coach was an Everton fan until he got fired. He used to send me big Men in Blazers fan, he used to send me a lot of Georgia Tech stuff, which I love. I actually got Georgia Tech underpants on tonight for you, but you fired them. So, but back to soccer in Atlanta. And you were hosted as a city for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah!
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. So good.
It's amazing. And I love what you said. You said FIFA has figured out something that we've already known for a little while here in Atlanta, that Atlanta is a soccer town.
Atlanta is a soccer
And I love your
town.
naivete, because FIFA doesn't care about soccer, but I have spent a lot of time in this city, and what you said is so bloody true. I made a film about Footy Mob.
Footy Mob.
Which is, I'm going to tell
Footy
you,
Mob.
Footy Mob is one of the joys of American football. I love them. I do. They are one of the authentically Atlanta supporters groups that grew up around Atlanta United, and they've taken Atlanta's great hip-hop. Reggie, hello, gorgeous. God, I love that man.
That's the
I
man
love
right
that man
there.
so very much. And I love that they've taken Atlanta's great hip-hop anthems and resounded them as chants. They've weaved them organically into the tapestry of the club. And when you go to a game at Atlanta United, and I've been to many, they don't feel like ersatz European football chants. They feel so wonderfully and distinctly Atlanta. And Mayor, can you talk about the way that the city and the club have coalesced to create this culture? Because it's unique and singular, and it's scintillating.
I mean, I think that these booster clubs, these groups that get together to be able to, I mean, from the tailgating to the excitement and electricity during the games or before the games and even after the games, they are a part of the culture. I believe that they help train and indoctrinate newcomers to soccer. I mean, there were folks, you know, of course, they're very inclusive. I mean, we have a city that is really a large region, you know, so the city of Atlanta is just one part of a huge region of 7 million people. And these folks have all different backgrounds. Some are soccer enthusiasts from their country of origin, and some are newcomers to it. And so when you have a footy mob and you have other groups that's like, hey, yeah, you say come on in and enjoy yourself and be a part of this culture, then that really allows people to enjoy this experience and not have to be shamed because they weren't a soccer fan when, you know, 2016, 2017 started, but now they caught on to the wave, and people are like, let's do this. And so I think the other thing with, you know, we have organizations like Soccer in the Streets. Yeah, Sanjay and those guys. Soccer in the Streets literally teaches young folks and allows them to be able to enjoy the game of soccer at our MARTA stations, which is our, you know, subway stations, and in parks and places. They bring the game to them, and they have a good time, and it's very diverse, and it's fun. Perfect. And that's a way that you create a culture and a subculture that will really pay out dividends for this organization forever.
We love that answer, and I will say, Davo and I hope that the World Cup coming here transforms this city and how it's seen globally in the way that we see it, right, Davo, in every single way. And Mayor, it's been an honor. But before we go, there's one thing that we've got to discuss. I don't know how many people here know this, but your original claim to fame before the Mayor thing was at the great Benjamin E. Mays High School. You were, and we revere you, both Davo and I, because we've watched Brazil dance after goals. We want America to be a dancing, footballing culture. Your Mayor was part of one of the most legendary all-male dance groups. Was it NXS? Is that the group? What was the name?
Yeah, I was in a dance group, but now we got this new president and CEO of the Atlanta United, Garth Lagerway, and he's gonna come out later and he's gonna do all my dance moves for me.
It's coming up next. Let's take a look.
Let's roll it.
Oh my God! I'm almost too embarrassed to watch me.
Well, can I tell you?
Brilliant.
Can we hear that?
I love it.
Can I tell you? Mayor, can we dispatch you to start working with Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Tim Weah? By the way, Christian Pulisic's gritty needs work, but can we? I believe you could be the Martha Graham that our US men's national team need to go next level. Are you ready for that job?
I wasn't even paying attention to what you said. I was still.
Welcome to the podcast.
I was still messed up. I'm sorry, my man. What you say? I'm thinking about my political future as y'all show me.
Atlanta, Davo, do the honors.
I think your political future is pretty secured. What an incredible mayor you have, Atlanta. Please be upstanding for your mayor, Mayor Andre Dickens.
Just making a quick note for myself. Book the mayor of Atlanta on Jeopardy.
Oh, he smells amazing as well, by the way.
Wow. That's the first thing I noticed. It's like...
I think top 10 smelling mayors all time.
I was going to go top 5 Men in Blazer smelling guests of all time.
Number 1, Diego Forlan.
Oh, Forlan was amazing.
Diego Forlan and Patrick Vieira wears enough aftershave for both of you, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
You sit by Vieira, you leave smelling of like Draco Noir as if you've just drunken a bottle of that crap. Dave, I'm going to be thinking about this all the time now. We sat by somebody who smelled really good. We had another guest that smelled amazing. Yeah, so we're coming out. By the way, we've written 2 books. One's called Gods of Soccer. The other's called Encyclopedia Blazotanica. But our next book is called Guess We Have Smelt.
A ranking 1 to 148. Okay, Rog, we've talked about this. This is the World Cup of chalk, meaning favourites. But there is one team that is still allowing us to dare to dream. That is the Atlas Lions, Morocco, who are the lone flag bearer for African football left at this World Cup. And today, we got a gent who knows a little something about the joyous football cultures that AFCON can produce. He's a true jack of all trades, an actor, a musician, one-time face of T.I.'s fashion line. You may know him from the mega hit series Power. He's got a new single out right now called Make You Say, which you can and should find wherever you find your music. Hailing from Maplewood, New Jersey, it is a man who roots for the US and Nigeria with equal vigor. Not quite a winning combination at this World Cup, if we're being honest, but here to talk it all through with us, the ups, the downs, the silver linings, it's the one and only Rotimi.
Oh, Rotimi also smells amazing, like the record show. Rotimi, your parents are both Nigerian.
Yes.
You root for Nigeria. In a fate that's all too familiar for US fans, and this pains me, you sadly didn't qualify for the World Cup. Lost to Ghana by a single away goal in the 3rd round of African qualifying. And we could do a Wobie stories for days. Wobes! But you briefly had the US to root for at this World Cup instead. But I wonder, how much does it hurt? Because I know you're watching the World Cup, turning it on and not seeing your team there.
You know, it's painful. You know, you wish you had somebody to root for. You know, in 2018, Nigeria, we qualified, but again, we didn't do too well. But this year, you know, I had some hope for the US. I really had some hope, man. I feel like our defense was really, really strong. But it's just like we just can't get over the hump, and it just hurts a lot, man. It's painful.
Oh, it's like having Chase Rice back for a second night on the run.
You told us a story before the show about the 2018 World Cup, watching the games at a bar in LA, being the only Nigeria fan in the entire building.
Yes.
To be the only Nigerian fan in a sea of other nations, talk us through your approach. Are you keeping to yourself in that bar, or are you talking smack to everyone who walks by? What kind of a Nigerian are you?
I am the Nigerian that after the second Long Island, I was talking hella shit. I was talking hella stuff, man. No, it started off a little timid. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of Portugal fans in this corner. It was pretty loud. And it was just really cool just to see like everybody have different jerseys, everybody just supporting, and it was just like, okay, here's my time. Let's go, ahem, we are here together. And it's like, oh, Jesus, what did I just... Everybody's staring at me, but it was fun, man. And again, hopefully we get to feel that again soon, please.
I mean, it does feel like that since 1990 and that Cameroon quarter-final run, it was delirious. 1990, like, very few African teams were even allowed in the bloody World Cup then. It was a disgrace, and it took FIFA far too long to take it seriously. But Cameroon went on this delicious quarter-final run, and I do just need to repeat my favourite story here for 500th time, that England barely scraped past them in the quarter-final.
Yeah.
And their legendary manager, Bobby Robson, was asked if he underestimated Cameroon after the game. And he came out with a great quote where he said, "We didn't underestimate them. We just didn't think they'd be that good." and what I want to know is African teams have it's like possibly the most English thing ever, but have constantly had quality. They've constantly had talent, but it feels like there's an invisible hurdle that they can't get past. And I'm curious as to why. You know, when you go to sleep on World Cup nights, Rotimi, what do you dream? Do you think we'll see an African team in the final of a World Cup in our lifetime?
The next 15 years, 16 years, I think so. I think, again, I'm old enough to know, brother.
Yeah. My guess is younger than both you and I, sir. Anyway, go on, carry on.
It's the mayor of Nashville again, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I think very soon, man. I think, again, it's mental at this point. I feel like we have the skill, we have the speed, we have the total package. I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's gonna happen within the next couple, for sure.
How do you turn it
sure.
around? Do you cheer for all the African teams who make it? Do you cheer for Senegal? Do you cheer for Morocco tomorrow?
Yes. At this point, what else can we do? I'm a Morocco fan right now, you know? And so...
I mean, it's fascinating. I want to be clear, like when the US are eliminated, which Alexi Lalas still has not accepted and wants a recount, but like we don't cheer for Costa Rica. We don't we don't cheer for Mexico. I do, to be candid, but because I'm like Landon Donovan cheers for them, I'm going to cheer for them. But African teams, you do. There is like a pan-continental pride. So tomorrow you will be cheering for Morocco.
Oh, absolutely, because again, we don't get these opportunities, and we know how much it will do so well for the continent in general. And I think it'll just bring more light to the continent, you know, and so then more money will be invested into it, and more kids will be able to just see it happen. We just need somebody, one team, just to show that it's possible. And I think that will just change a lot of it.
You have, it should be said, seen some incredible Nigerian football in your lifetime.
Yes.
Gold medal at the Olympics in this very city in 1996.
Yeah.
Star of that show, Davo, won canoe.
Yeah.
God, the great.
Yeah.
Great, yes.
What was, so watching Kanu play, watching Nigeria when they're playing so well, when they're flowing, all of that talent, all of those great players.
Yeah.
You know, what does it mean to you? Watching them, they held their own against England. What do you think is possible for Nigeria going forward?
Well, to talk about Kanu, when I was young, my dad made us watch Kanu when he was playing for Arsenal. So that made me literally, So that made me literally start playing, watching him. And I was very fast, but I couldn't finish. Not now. I'm good at all that now. I'm good at that now for different reasons. But when I played,
By the way, fast but couldn't finish. You've just described
no,
actually right.
it came out wrong. Wait, it's still.
Move on.
Okay.
Just say, I did not get hit in the penis.
Yes.
That's the important thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So when I played the sport, I was always really fast. But no, he changed the trajectory, the projection of Africa, and he gave hope to kids, man, again, and even just going down with the heart surgery and then resilient to come back, like I remember that, and so it was just, again, a glimmer of hope, man. That's what Africa really just needs, like a glimmer of hope, and when we have it, we cherish it, you know?
Tomorrow, I need to ask you, the US team players like Christian Pulisic, they're essentially to young Americans what Kanu was to you. They are against the odds success stories that make you believe that anything is possible.
Yes.
And I know you have English cousins who give you crap about the US team.
Yeah.
But watching them play in this tournament, watching the US hold their own against England, how do you see the United States team?
Oh, again, it's hope. Again, I feel like with the U.S., if the U.S. can get really, really deep into it, man, if they can, it it will change the next 12 years of how much money, how much light will go into soccer for Americans, even for kids in the inner city, bro. If they see that, oh, I'm on this platform, I'm playing the best of the world, I'm here, I'm popular, I'm getting endorsements. Again, it's one of those places and one of those countries that if we see it happen, it will change everything. And I think because us being the second youngest team,
Yeah.
come on, but come on.
It's true. If we only had you playing up front for us, fast, but what was it?
No, we're not going to talk about
Fast
that.
but not able to finish.
We're not going to talk about that, my
I'm
brother.
going to tell you, if we had someone that was fast and not able to finish, it
Okay.
would be an improvement, Rotimi.
All right, it was good seeing you guys.
David, do the honors for this beautiful human being.
Seriously, though, I think you could finish better than any of those American strikers, whatever you say.
I know I can, baby. Nigeria, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for Rotimi. Thanks so much. Appreciate
Rotimi! He's a number 9. Oh, I've got to get on the phone to Greg after that. I would say Rotimi smells incredible too. Atlanta, you are one of the finest smelling sensory cities. And honestly, it's only that that's keeping me awake at the moment.
Joining us now, Rog.
Oh my God.
On
Please
stage.
smell good, you
What?
bastard.
One of the most recent and crucial additions to this surging soccer city.
Brad Guzan!
No, a gent in whose step-by-step career you can see the outline of the growth and evolution of the game in our nation, combining the football knowledge of Garth Crooks and the innovative prodigy of Garth Brooks. Atlanta, please welcome your new president and CEO of Atlanta United, Mr. Garth Lagerway.
Garth Lagerway! This is not really my job to do this, but Garth Lagerway, welcome to Atlanta.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Stage 6.
It feels like I've got here at about 10 o'clock this morning, but the way World Cup hours work, I feel like I should pay taxes in Georgia. And for those unfamiliar with the Lagerway journey, your life has been one American hero's journey immersed in football. Straight out of high school in the 90s, you jetted off to SC Freiburg. You trained as a goalkeeper in their reserves. Returned to the US. You played for Duke Soccer. Go Blue Devils.
Yeah.
Attaboy, stand up. That's right.
Were you really like the Christian Leitner of goalkeeping?
Christian was a much better player than me, let me tell you.
He was also Garth. He was a bit of an arsehole, let's be candid. But you had a playing career.
We all fit in, Duke.
There goes our Christian Leitner booking.
He's like top 20 Christian that I want to have on this show, let's be candid. But you had a playing career in the USL, MLS for Kansas City, Dallas, Miami. You went to Georgetown, you completed a law degree, you became an attorney, you were very good in LA law. And
Wonderful.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Wonderful work.
Wonderful work. Overruled. Objection. You kept up gigs, commentating for DC United and the New England Revolution. You always seem to have a foot in the door of football. And you were practicing attorney, you kept your side hustles. What about football kept you coming back? It's really a fascinating question that I have when I look at your later career. What made you keep coming back to us, Garth?
Well, I mean, playing-wise, it was always, I was the lowest player ever drafted in MLS. You're talking arguably the least talented professional soccer player in America. 1996, MLS draft, 160 people are chosen. I'm picked 150th. All 5 years I play in the league, I'm the lowest draft pick that has survived through that time. So I figured out pretty quickly that I was going to have to keep moving. I might need some side hustles to kind of stay alive in the game. So, but no, look, I played and I took the LSAT when I was at Duke, because at Duke you do things like that. And that's absolutely, nerd, guilty as charged. You guys will figure that out pretty quick. And that score's good for 5 years. So it's no coincidence that my career ended after 5 years, because I said, well, I could be a backup at this and keep moving around, or I could go do something that maybe I'm good at. And it turned out I wasn't real good at being a lawyer either. So then I had to go back to football and got lucky with the Salt Lake gig, and then eventually made my way through to Seattle and now to Atlanta.
Wow. 3 reformed lawyers all at this table. This is
recovering, right?
Recovering.
Yeah, I was also very low on the draft pick for lawyers.
Once you were in, though, Garth, you were in. 35 years old, you became the youngest ever MLS general manager at Real Salt Lake, where you worked for 7 seasons before moving to Seattle Sounders. At both spots, you threw yourself into nurturing vibrant soccer cultures. You raised MLS Cups, CONCACAF Champions Leagues along the way. 15 years of learning that brings us all here together today in Atlanta. You've seen this club, Atlanta United, rise from the outside, from Seattle, who really have been the gold standard of football culture and fan passion in this country. What did you glimpse here in Atlanta that seemed so enticing to you and drew you in?
I think the fans. I mean,
Good answer at a live show.
That's right. Yeah,
the mayor and the fans.
The mayor was amazing, by the way. I just met him tonight. He's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah, Garth oversees the transportation in the city. So this is the right time to heckle.
But there's another reformed lawyer I think you gentlemen are friends with, who was my former roommate. And he told me a little bit about it.
Oh.
A gentleman named Darren Eales. We played together on the immortal Hampton Roads Mariners. Whoa. So that is the talent path, from USISL player to Atlanta United president and CEO. That's the way it works. It's the only way to get here.
You have to room with Darren Eales.
He was technically in the bedroom adjacent to mine. We lived in the owner's house, but we were young.
This is like Magnum PI. This is essentially like that storyline, but for football. We're little English guys. But you watch this place. This place is amazing from the outside. You're in Seattle, also amazing. But what did you see here? I mean, what you came here, you watched it, you played games here. What did you see in this incredible city that you were like, this place? This is where I want to be.
There's some obvious things, right? I mean, it's the best stadium, arguably, in the world. It's one of the best training facilities, certainly in MLS, but I think also maybe in the world from that. So, I mean, you have these incredible resources, right? I mean, it's always been one of the teams that's been willing to invest in the players and invest in the product and take that fan base. It's one thing to have the fan base, right? But you have to have ownership that's willing to take the resources of the fan base and invest back in the team, right? Then you create the virtuous cycles of where you can create homegrown players and hometown heroes along with signing players from all over the world. And I think Atlanta, they couldn't have started better than they did, right? 17, 18, 19, they rise as quickly as they could, and they've kind of inevitably come to earth a little bit. But hopefully now we can take this foundation and we can build it in a more sustainable manner, perhaps, and really take this thing and keep it up at the top like we were able to do in Seattle.
I mean, we all know the stats, this delirious football culture in this remarkable city. We've said already, Atlanta United hold 9 out of the 10 highest attendances in MLS history. That cannot be said enough, by the way. We cannot normalize this. It's quite exceptional what you're doing in this city, and the fact that you do it on the regs does not make it any less exceptional. An eye-popping 70,000, the highest average attendance of any club in the league. It's amazing. By the way, just to be completely clear, it's amazing for the world. It's not just amazing for American soccer. This is an amazing number by world standards. And Atlanta United brought the city its first major sports title since the 95 Braves. But I want to know, what surprised you, Garth? What's something that you didn't expect in your first weeks at the club? Now you've kicked the tires from the inside.
Well, it wasn't supposed to rain, first of all. I thought I was leaving that, and it's rained every day since last couple. Anyway, no, I mean, look, I've only been here 6 days, so to offer, I've actually very scrupulously tried not to offer lots of opinions on the club.
We want a 40-page PowerPoint, Garth.
That was the interview. I thought that was over. They told me I could come out here now. It's my job. Nah, I mean, look, the big thing is to kind of go slow to go fast, which is to say to get to know the folks. There's so much talent here. The culture's good here. There's so many positives that it's kind of up to me to not screw it up. To come out and again fine tune some stuff and to use the resources we have, and then to make everybody a little bit better. And make sure that we're empowered across departments to learn from each other, but then magnify those smart people and get everybody a little bit better.
So your first signing of the offseason, snapped up free agent Derek Etienne Jr. People seem excited about that. You've said you wanted to go slowly, but even in just the short term, Garth, what does forward progress look like to you for this franchise?
I think the goal for next year is to finish in the top 4, because what this fan base hasn't had a home playoff game in 3 years. That's what we got to address. We got to create these moments whereby we can reward all of the enthusiasm and fervor of all these folks out here tonight and are coming for the stadium. We can't have the resources we have. We can't have the organization we have and be missing the playoffs. But it's greater than that. We have to aspire to more than just getting back to the playoffs. We want to get a home playoff game. That is the goal for next year. We want to play in front of this fan base. We want to get a chance to perform in front of all of you in a game that matters.
Wow. Love it.
What's a long-term vision? I mean, this team who rose so bloody quickly off the field as evidence tonight and on it, but our soccer world's expanding exponentially. 2026 World Cup on the horizon. It's 1,326 days away, but who's counting? And Atlanta will be a host city. It's amazing. In your wildest dreams, what heights do you think Atlanta can reach? Tell us, 10 years, what do you hope you will have helped steward in this magical kingdom, Garth?
Look, I think this city and this league could be one of the best in the world. I mean, look at some of the data coming out of the World Cup, the number of MLS players participating in World Cup games. For a bit, I haven't checked in the last couple of days, but it was 6th or 7th in terms of global leagues, in terms of having players in, and that may go down now in the knockouts. We may be less represented, but when you think about the biggest fan base, the most raucous fan base in what could be one of the best leagues, you look at about a U.S. team on the rise, because I think this is the best U.S. team of all time. Take a deep breath, and I don't even mean as a moral victory. We have never played a World Cup before where we played 8 halves of soccer. We were the better team in at least 5, right? Arguably as many as 7, depending on how you parse it.
You're bending my brain, Garth.
And keep in mind, too, because I know the folks there, right? I mean, Greg Berhalter is my age. We played together on the Raleigh Flyers. I'm going to give you every cool team name that I played for. Do you know that none of the MLS teams I play for still exist? I mean, 3 for 3.
Wow.
The Kansas City Wiz, the Dallas Burn, urologist stream, and the Miami Fusion. So,
Well, we're big fans of the Miami Fusion.
There you go.
I've still got one of the shirts.
I mean, because if you can name someone after a cultural, style or
I love
cuisine, that's always where you got to go, right? MLS 1.0. But anyway, there's a lot to be excited about.
10 years, what are we seeing in this city?
Look, I think I'm hopeful that we can be.
Let me translate for those of you at home. The gentleman on the balcony at the left wants a better transport system. But 10 years from now, really, tell us. I need concrete, I need hard facts. I can't let you leave the stage without having a wildly over-promising answer to this question.
Look, 10 years from now, if you want to look out that far, is Leagues Cup one of the best tournaments in the world at that point? Where you're talking about, does the champion of Leagues Cup go and play against the champion of South America? Does that champion then rival a European Champions League? Americans aren't real good about being second or third or sixth or where we are. We're going to be the best. And you asked originally what attracted me here. To be part of an organization that's also part of the Falcons and part of the NFL, that's really attractive, right? And arguably unique in American sports when you look at the opportunity where now we have we talked about the resources, right? That means you spend a lot of money on players, but like things like analytics If you have an NFL level analytics department that we can now tap into and look for synergies with, now we can really, grow it exponentially, potentially in a short period of time.
Falconry, it's the future.
There you go.
Well, we're in the right city.
Well,
we're in the right
well
city.
said.
We're in the right city. So I'm going to go back for my final question to something you said earlier, talking about this young, incredibly talented U.S. men's national team. I agree. Certainly, maybe not the best U.S. soccer team of all time, but the most talented group of individuals that the U.S. has ever had at its disposal on the men's side. So for the next 3.5 years, you're obviously somebody who spent a lot of time around American soccer, a lot of times around all of it. What has to happen for this team to never go into a tournament as underdogs again, to go in as a team hosting the World Cup? You'd think they're going to go in as, semi-finals at least, maybe better. What has to happen over the next 3.5 years to ensure that for this amazing group of young people?
Well, first of all, I don't think they're not going to be underdogs, right? You're not going to play meaningful matches against a bunch of European teams such that you're going to be favorites in the World Cup, even if you're on home soil, right? Because the Nation League prevents you from scheduling lots of games against competitive matches.
That's one of the big things, is
right?
how are the U.S. going to get meaningful games over the next 3.5 years?
Look, I think it's a huge challenge, and I think, again, if you look at some of the tactical matchups in the World Cup, that you don't see that in CONCACAF as much, right? They become physical battles. You go back and forth. You have Mexico Canada's obviously on the rise now too, but all three of those teams, again, rising together, I think, ahead of 2026, which is a good thing. But we do have to find ways to play people outside of CONCACAF to get that level of opposition to prepare our guys. But the other single most important thing is to deepen the pool, right? If you looked at that team, we played 13, 14 guys, and those guys are all playing at a pretty high level. I think we have the right number of elite players. Obviously, we'd love to get better at 9, but you have a really, really good base and foundation, and the player pool in general is actually, very broad. But you need that next wave of players, the next generation of players to come in now, fill that out. Those guys will move. That core of 8 or 9 guys is going to move into their prime age. And this is what I give Ernie Stewart, Brian McBride, Greg Berhalter credit for. They picked this team with 2026 in mind. To say, hey, we're going to take a chance, particularly in CONCACAF qualifying, because we're the second youngest team in the World Cup, right? But in CONCACAF qualifying, we sent an absurdly under-experienced team into some really tough places.
Into places you need to be very experienced.
Absolutely. Having missed the previous World Cup, I think that took an incredible amount of courage. And they did it, and they stuck it through, and now they've gotten this experience at the World Cup. And it didn't end the way we wanted it to. But those are invaluable experiences for this group, all of which is going to be prime age in the next World Cup. So I think the future couldn't possibly be brighter. And if we could add another 5 to 10 elite players in that next 4 years, if one of them's a 9, if we can find the next Clint Dempsey, he's got to be somewhere here in the South, right?
Cutting a rap album as we speak.
Who's the next kid from Nacogdoches? If we can find that, I think we truly can be an elite team, a top team in the world.
Alpha.
Just to paraphrase what Garth just said, essentially we need a healthy Miles Robinson.
You do. Bravo.
God bless. God bless. I want to raise my glass to that. Garth, I want to raise a glass to you. It is remarkable to see you, a gentleman that has created glory in place after place, land in this city that really, honestly, from the outside, cries out for glory. Atlanta, please join me in giving one more warm welcome to Garth Lagerway.
Brilliant. Fantastic, Garth. Enjoyed it. Look forward to talking to you more. Awesome. Love it.
Garth Lagerway!
Rog,
we have 3 more guests.
Something I've always...
2 of them are Breck Shea.
I've always wanted to ask you something, Rog.
Yeah.
Can we get a toast?
Oh, we can. I'm just trying to remember what the fuck it was, to be candid.
Where are your notes?
I don't know. I can't remember where I put that
here
page.
comes your cold Jägermeister. Just what we need.
Oh, you know what I want to say? I do want to say this, which is... I've got written down Rog Toast, and now I've lost my page. We're going to have to edit this crap out. Here's what I want to say. I'm going to speak from my heart in every regard. which is, I want to raise this shot of Jägermeister, this bolt of human emotion in a shot glass, to Miguel Almiron.
Yes.
I want to say to you that this is a gentleman that we came to Atlanta in 2018 and celebrated that human being. He was just such a Dragon Ball celebrating human being of wonder alongside Joseph Martinez, the two of them just propelling each other on to greater and greater levels of glory. We admired him so bloody great. Is that us? Yeah. What a gorgeous human. And your translator. By the way, an amazing human being and Justin in his own right. I love that man. And to watch him go to the Premier League, it thrilled us, but he floundered. It was a dark time. The perma smile that was once on his face evaporated. He was lost north of the wall up in Newcastle. All seemed lost. The killer blow being derided by Jack Grealish, who made him a punchline. Let me say that again. Jack Grealish. He's actually a nice man. He is a nice man, because we'll get to that in a minute. This was a man who became a punchline. Jack essentially implied that Almiron was the single worst player in the Premier League, which is a cruel and awful. And frankly, I mean, Jack has actually admitted he was drunk and stupid when he said it. And what did Almiron do? It could have finished lesser human beings, but instead, Mickey dug deep, unfurled his true self. He unfurled his truth on the Premier League. He treated Premier League defenders as if they were his own private amusement park, and has treated this season as if it's just one single Mickey Almiron and one mixtape highlight reel. And it's been magnificent to witness, from a tenacity, from a perseverance, from a blessed skill perspective, to the extent he got the rarest of things, which is an apology last week from Jack Grealish, who said he's reached out to Miggy, apologized personally, feels terrible about what he said. It's very nice to have Phil Foden here tonight. Yeah. But I'll just say, I'm going to raise this glass to Miggy Almiron and just say, Atlanta, you saw his truth first and you saw it purest, and we're all the better off for that. To Miggy!
Woo! Okay, beautiful, Rog. We're going to continue this party tonight at Brewhouse Cafe. Oh, not the Conquer. I was hoping it was the Conquer Cafe, Rog.
Well,
it's the Brewhouse. It's the Brewhouse Cafe.
Brewhouse Cafe is the Conquer Cafe of Atlanta. Come and have a beer with us. Come and raise a glass.
Yeah,
we all need hugs and we all need love right now. Come be with us.
That's located at 401 Moorland Avenue Northeast. We invite you all to join us over there.
Better transportation!
We invite you all to join us over there following the show. And now, though, we'd like to welcome to the stage members of Atlanta United supporter groups who will lead us in an Atlanta United chant, Roger. Yes. Okay, good. Here we go.
And we are here, rowdy and proud. We are the eight from way down south, and we are here, rowdy and proud.
Atlanta, you are the best of us. Come and have a drink with us.
Come and have a drink.
Love
Thank you, Atlanta.
Thank you very much. Good night.